One of the questions that we get asked a lot is, what does Konami mean? So I'm wondering, do you get asked a lot, what does BMM stand for?
It's actually an interesting question. Actually, no, it doesn't happen that often. It used to happen a lot more often, kind of in North America, especially as we started to become relevant in North America. People would ask. And it's kind of weird that they don't still ask because it's not obvious what it stands for. BMM stands for Bellamy, Miller, and Moneypenny, which were the original founders of BMM. No longer around, but yeah, people don't ask so much. And I think I kind of look at that as, BMM has become a common name. And quite frankly, they don't really ask. And if I tell them, they don't remember either. So
Well, for those few who may have had that burning question, they don't have to wonder any longer. And the man we have to thank for that is Travis Foley, Chief Government and Regulatory Officer for BMM Testlabs. Thank you for joining us here at Konami Circle.
thank you.
Also joining us from Konami Gaming Inc. is Vice President of Technical Compliance, Spencer Peterson.
Thank you.
This is Konami Circle. I'm host Tashina Lascano. For those of you tuned in, thank you for joining us here at Konami Gaming's Las Vegas headquarters. So, Travis, for those watching who may not be familiar, tell us how BMM Testlabs helps keep our casinos going.
Yeah, I think the way we try to look at what we do is not necessarily keep the casinos going, but keep the casinos safe. And what we mean by keeping it safe, we want it to be safe for the patron, safe for the regulator, and safe for the operator. One of the key aspects of gaming is its reputation, and its reputation is maintained through the integrity and accountability of the gaming activity. So a big part of what we do is the products that go into the casino have to be tested to ensure they meet standards, and those standards are intended to ensure the integrity and accountability. So we like to look at it as we're here to help keep the environment safe for all the parties involved.
And as a games creator and a technology supplier, Spencer, how do you work with BMM Testlabs to help bring new and fresh slot games and technology to the player?
So, Konami, we use BMM as a testing service, not just for the regulatory side of things, but also for our quality assurance side. They do an excellent job in helping us test the games to ensure not only that they meet the regulatory requirements, as Travis indicated, but also that they're not going to crash, that there's not any unwanted messages coming up, undesirable effects that can come out of the software. And then from there, it will roll into their regulatory side of things, which they will issue the approval so we can move the product into the jurisdictions where we're going to sell them. And they do it in a very efficient manner by using both of their services. And then they'll also help advise when we do have questions on new technology or game mechanics. They're able to provide their insight with the experience that they have.
It's a really essential partnership. And Travis, would you help us understand how BMM has grown since you first joined the company more than 10 years ago?
Sure. BMM is started actually in Australia. And so we've been around since 1981. But that first kind of era of BMM was really in that Asia Pacific region. BMM came to North America in the early 2000s and has grown globally since then. So it's the growth in North America has been exponential, and the growth around the world has been exponential as well. We just most recently opened up 2 new offices, one in India and one in Slovenia, just to meet the demand from the manufacturers around the world for these services. So it's grown significantly. When I first started with BMM in North America, we were a really small team in a very small office, and we've continued to grow since then. So it's been miraculous, and it's been challenging. It's been challenging for various reasons, but we're kind of at the point now where we're really excited about the future.
Oh, for sure. And for good reason. Spencer, you've been witness to this growth. Are there any specific moments or milestones that stand out to you?
Yeah, so we've been working with BMM since I started here 18 years ago, in some fashion or another, with games testings into system testing. And one of the challenges that BMM has always had, from my perspective anyway, has been acquiring the jurisdictions that they're able to approve for. There were just a couple holdouts that was rather, I guess, challenging for BMM to acquire. They've overcome that now, and to me, that was probably one of the uh, largest challenges from my perspective as a customer of theirs, to be there with them and see them finally overcome this. And now I believe every market that we do business in, BMM can issue approvals for.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, and I was hoping you'd say that me joining BMM was the one was most memorable moment for you. But uh, more importantly, the market access, it has been a significant challenge for us over the years for a variety of reasons. But and there has been some jurisdictions that have been very important to the manufacturers that we were not able to service. And most recently, at the end of last year, we acquired recognition with the North Carolina Band of Indians, Eastern Manicherkee Indians, for that market, which was a huge one for us.
Oh, well, congratulations. And
Thank you.
I understand a congratulations is also in order because you recently moved into a new post as this Chief Government and Regulatory Officer. Tell us about the new role.
Yeah, the new role, it's brand new, sort of. So I think with BMM's growth, we're around the globe, and with what we've talked about with market access and the demand for our services, BMM's recently restructured our organization globally, which has been a very positive change for BMM. I say that because my role previously, I've had numerous roles at BMM, and typically I've had multiple roles at the same time. So
We know what
with
that's like.
with this new reorganization, it's allowed me to be in a one role, and that's this government and regulatory officer role, which is a great role to be in. It's very challenging, but it actually kind of goes back to my roots as being a regulator for the state of Nevada. So really, that role is to really drive BMM services to regulators, be supportive of regulators, be supportive of new technologies. One of the biggest challenges that regulators have is that they're usually short-staffed, and they have limited ability to travel to other jurisdictions and so forth. And we see what goes on around the world. We see jurisdictions take on new technologies and the challenges they face in regulating those technologies, and we're able to share that with regulators who are considering those same technologies as well. So that's a big part of my role, is to be out there assisting regulators, working with them on the challenges they face with new technology, maybe suggesting standards that they could adopt, internal controls they could adopt, and really helping just educate them on those so they can do their jobs better.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm glad you mentioned working with regulators. Spencer, you also interact with regulators. In
Yeah.
my job, I do not. So I'm wondering, are there any basic do's and don'ts for somebody who's new to that?
I'll start on this one. So, from my experience in working with the regulators, it's pretty straightforward. You want to be truthful and complete when discussing issues with them. Um, of course, respectful, but we do that with everybody we interface with. I think being prepared is a big item too. Is we don't get a lot of time to spend with the regulators, and if they're calling looking for answers, we certainly want to be able to get them everything that they want in a concise manner, and not have it lead on. So
Anything to add to keep us on the regulator's good side?
Well, I think that a lot of I would agree 100% with Spencer. It's really important to be prepared. It's really important to be transparent.
Mm.
Regulators have limited staff, and they have limited resources to perform a very, very important job. So when you do get time with them, you want to be prepared. And what I mean by prepared is that, it typically happens around new technology. If you're going to present new technology to a regulator, it's very important to understand what their requirements are, right? Come in a bit prepared because you can be a much more productive conversation. And I would add, with new technology, you always want to have those conversations as early and often as possible. If you wait to have those conversations when the product's already developed, you might run into a significant issue and something you weren't aware of during your development time. And be transparent. The worst thing that can happen, speaking from being a former regulator, is if it doesn't feel like the person you're talking to is being transparent or clear, or they're being a bit kind of evasive. You want to just have an open and honest conversation. There's no reason to be scared that you're going to say something wrong. Just be open. Have that conversation, because the worst thing can happen is if they sense that you're not being truthful, then you're going to have a much more significant challenge in dealing with the regulator.
Oh, well, that's super helpful. So there we go. Be transparent, be prepared, be proactive, not with super tight timelines, and be truthful. Kind of what you would do for anybody else that you work with.
True. And the only other thing I would add is that I think it's really important that you have to understand that each jurisdiction, while they're all in the same industry, is unique. They all have different concerns. They all have different priorities. So when you speak to a regulator, you may have your product in other jurisdictions and it may be approved, but that doesn't necessarily it fits the requirements or the needs or the concerns of the jurisdiction that you're trying to get into. So, when you speak to a regulator, you need to make sure that you're catering to what their needs are, and not referring to the fact that you've already got it approved elsewhere, because that usually is not going to carry much weight with the regulator.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. In the time I've been here at Konami, I've been able to identify in the jurisdictions we do business in the concerns of the regulators. And Travis is right; they vary. Depending upon which jurisdiction I go into, they may be concerned more about a system issue than in another jurisdiction that they may not have very much concern for at all. So yeah, they're not all the same.
Earlier in our conversation, you mentioned testing efficiency. And when I think of efficiency, one of the top things I think about is time and speed. Is gaming testing faster today than it was when you first entered the industry?
So yeah, no, the testing has become more complicated because the games have become more complicated. But in the same sentence, as the games have advanced, the technology to test them has also advanced. So does it take more time to test? Yeah, my experience is it does take more time to test the games, but is it? It's not very substantial, and the reason is because we have better test tools now.
Well, look, I would probably answer the question a little bit differently. I think it's become much more efficient, but I think we're saying the same thing. It's become much more efficient, but products have become more complicated, right?
Yeah.
So if you took a product from 15 years ago and tested it today, maybe 15 years ago, it would take 8-9 weeks. If you tested that product today, it's probably going to take a couple of weeks to test that. So, but what that shows is that the products have become more complicated. But I don't think as they become more complicated, the time has been extended kind of in a linear relationship, because
Right.
to Spencer's point, we've got much more advanced in how we test and where we test. With BMM, we can test around 24/7, around the clock. So, we can start testing in Las Vegas. We can then pick it up in Melbourne. We can pick it up in India. We can pick it up in Europe. And then also automation's played a big part. We've made some real significant strides in our automation program to perform testing on machines, which allows us to test around the clock on those machines. So it's become more efficient, but because of the complexity, it has, it might feel like it hasn't really gotten faster.
Well, I love that you're following the sun, making best advantage of the hours available, and using that automation is fantastic. All right, changing gears a little bit, I noticed you both have degrees in electrical engineering. So I'm wondering, when you were students, did you imagine that you would be in the gaming industry, or what attracted you to the industry? Well, okay, we'll pass it over to
Right. I get to
you,
go
Travis,
first this time. Look, I think I'm as much of a native of Nevada as I can be for my age. So I've been in Nevada for 42 years. And quite frankly, when I was in high school, being growing up in Las Vegas, I didn't really want to be involved in the gaming industry. Didn't want to be behind a desk. I didn't think I was going to marry a blonde either, but all of those things have worked out, and it's been great. For me, I was in getting that electrical engineering degree, and while, like I said, I wasn't super interested in being in the gaming industry, I needed some sort of job experience on my resume. And on a job board, there was a position for a developer for a small manufacturer in Sparks, Nevada. So I took it, and one thing led to another, and I've been in this industry either testing or involved in testing for 30 years now.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't my intention, but I've enjoyed it. It's been great. And especially with BMM, being able to go around the world and, meet people of all different cultures, all the regulators around the world. It's been a fantastic experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Spencer, what brought you here?
So when I graduated in the mid '90s with the degree in electrical engineering, I actually answered an ad in a newspaper for a company that would test games, and this was in Colorado and Denver. They had limited stakes gaming there, but I did not have a exposure to gaming really at all. So I thought I'd be testing PlayStation or Nintendo games. Sounded pretty neat to me. Went down and delivered my resume by hand, and it was actually to a company, GLI, and they were installing the alarm system in the building, and I met the founders of it, and I got an interview, and sure enough, I got the job, and really enjoyed the industry. Started as a test engineer and then worked my way up to the technical director of the Colorado lab, and had an opportunity to move out to Las Vegas for another gaming endeavor, and took that opportunity. I think one of the items that does one of the routes that I took was I got out of the testing the engineering side of things fairly quickly and went into management. My time at GLI, I learned that there was a skill for being able to take technical terms and explain it to essentially law enforcement and lawyers, which is what the regulatory structure is set up for, and being able to explain what is going on in the products that they're regulating from a technical side, but in a manner that they could understand. Give me some satisfaction to it, and that's kind of where I'm at now. So,
And I don't know about you, Spencer, but I don't get to use my engineering skills much anymore. But I've been fortunate because I mentioned the automation, so I've been able to sneak away and still use some of my engineering skills every once in a while. But the same as Spencer, you know, there is a skill to what Spencer is describing, and it's not an easy skill to do. So I find myself in that same situation.
Well, speaking of using those skills, I'm wondering, now that we've established that you both have official electronics expertise, are you the person that your family calls upon if they need home personal tech support?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, my parents live here in Las Vegas as well. So that makes it a little bit easier. They don't live that far from me for that support. But yes, on a regular basis, I am providing support to my parents.
I'm sure they appreciate it. Are you the tech person at your house?
So although I have a strong understanding of the networking that goes along with a home network, no, my son is actually the tech guy and will often help me to get everything going in the house that I need. But once in a while, I can still teach him something. But generally, yeah, he's the tech for the house.
Got it covered. Well, I feel almost disappointed that we didn't get to witness some of that electronics expertise here on Konami Circle, but I can say it's been a nonetheless electrifying conversation, and that's due to our guest, Travis Foley from BMM Testlabs. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks to Spencer Peterson from Konami Gaming. And thank you for those of you who are tuned in here at Konami Circle. Circle up with us again next time. Stay tuned.